I'll see what I can do.
Wrinkles, claws, teeth?
Have you ever read Macon? Arthur Macon, Welsh. He believed in fairy folk, these ancient entities from the netherworld, predating mankind. Blackwood quotes him extensively. Here, that line, there. One life must be taken. These creatures had to take one human life every time they emerged to replenish their ranks. Many of these creatures fed on the bones, teeth of young children. And then there was a truce, a pact of sorts, between Pope Sylvester II and these ancient beings in the year 999. In exchange for human teeth, they start leaving silver pieces under the pillow. Now, this is the last known drawing by Emerson Blackwood, made shortly before his disappearance and the loss of his child.
His child?
And Blackwood's only son vanished, lost, not long after Blackwood himself disappeared, without a trace.
Hello everyone. Once again, this is Dare to Speak. I mentioned before in a couple of videos, which were early in the year when I first started, and also in the middle of the year, I talked a lot about fairy beings, elves, goblins, and things like that. I didn't get that much response from it, and so far there hasn't been anybody who's, as far as I know, that ever encountered them. There was something that I wanted to make very, very, very clear on this. I pretty much mentioned about this before. That first of all, there's different varieties, different species of these so-called creatures, and a lot of them that I remembered growing up as a kid. So I can understand how fearful that is because I've been there. I actually lived through it. Even my older brother at one time was a victim of it. Something called boggies. And what boggies are, they're pretty much like, they're within the fairy lore, with the goblins and elves and stuff like that. But boggies, or I should say, or bogies, I think that's another pronunciation. I think I might be pronouncing it differently. But bogies, they're known to be the type of creatures that will pretend to make friends with little kids. And these are the ones of the imaginary playmates or imaginary friends that a lot of kids will encounter. And my older brother encountered one of these things, and he thought it was friendly at first until he finally saw how he really looked like, and that's when he, freaked out and went crazy. And that's how I found out that my grandmother was behind that shit. Many years later, I found out. Anyways, the point is, what I wanted to say is these creatures are actually, they're not spirits. They're not demons or anything associated with Satan or anything like that. That's something that I wanted to point out. And I mean, you can believe whatever you want. You know, it's okay. You can believe whatever you want. But these creatures are actually biological. They're physical creatures. They can be killed. The reason why they appear to be spirits is because of the fact of something that they have, like an implement that they have in their hands, or something that they wear on either around their wrist or around their on their waistline, like a belt, or some kind of device that allows them to move through dimensions, or even something that they put on their heads. Some of them wear like some weird looking caps, something that you would see on one of those, like for those of you who are familiar with the Jack in the Box, where that Pop Goes the Weasel song, and then that thing pops up, that hat that they wear, that kind of thing. Some of them wear like a floppy, almost like a Christmas elf type of hat, or some kind of cap. That's what they have in their head, and that's what they use for to move through dimensions. So it's like highly advanced technology. So they're associated with the extraterrestrial lineage. Excuse me. They're associated with the extraterrestrial lineage, and it sounds far out. It sounds crazy. I know that, but I know that to be true. I'm judging from my own experience, and I guess for anyone who's actually been through that will actually know what I'm talking about. So that's something that I wanted to make out. The reason why they kill kids, lure them into a trap and stuff like that. If they feed off their flesh, or they actually feed off of their energy, or even their blood, it helps to prolong their life, their lifespan. They could automatically live for hundreds of years without doing that, but it's for immortality, to live for tens of thousands of years. In order for them to do that, they have to feed off the negative energy of people, especially little kids, because their life force is really that strong compared to an adult. So that's why they mostly focus on kids. And kidnapping them, like you hear in the folklore, how they kidnap them and then they feed on their bones or their flesh, or most importantly, drink their blood because of their DNA. Because there's a lot of DNA in the human body, in flesh, blood, and bone. Internal organs, the whole nine, the whole everything. And they feed off of that, and they consume it, and that's what helps to prolong their life, so they could live on forever and ever. And they've been doing this shit for tens of thousands of years. Who knows how long these fuckers have been around? And of course, there's different types of them. They're all ugly and scary looking. There's goblins, there's hobgoblins, there's elves, there's leprechauns, there's gnomes, bogies, bogarts, which are the ones that I encountered many times. And the bogarts look like claymation figures. They have that elf or type of look. They look cross between a human, like a little kid, like little kids. Some of them look like adults, kind of, but they're like all mashed up. And those are from body parts from little kids that they actually kill. That's why when someone encounters these type of creatures, goblins and elves and bogarts, That's why a lot of these people that suffer from sleep paralysis, and they say they hear the sounds of little kids laughing, because those are the sounds of the kids they actually murdered, and they took their life force, the essence of their life force, so they could easily imitate their voice. Yeah, I know it's hard for a lot of people to even believe that part. They just think it's very easy to say they're just demonic creatures, and they're part of Satan, and this and that, and just to make it simple, when it's not that simple. It's a lot more complicated than that. It takes study to find out, but you'll know. It's just a question of whether you want to accept it. For Halloween, like I said before, I want to do a lot of true stories and stuff like that for the month of October. And like I said, in this particular subject, that's the reason. That's another reason why people hear the sounds of little kids laughing. It's because they're murdered, they're killed, and they're pretty much consumed. And it's a very horrific thing, and you don't really want to know what I witnessed because of that shit. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Questions or comments, you know what to do. And to all of you, take care.